My name's Amata, and in this Red Gaming Tech video, I am here with yet more deals from the Christmas sale outside of Steam. Now, as I mentioned in my 10 under 10 Steam sale video that I did the other day, there are of course sales going across, Origin, and Uplay, and Green Man Gaming, and GOG, and Humble Bundle, so I thought, you know what, it's more than fair. Let's do another 10 under 10, except I'm going to be doing a collection from pretty much all those sites I just mentioned. A few from GMG, a couple from Humble, a few from Origin, one from Uplay, and one from GOG. Basically, what I know enough to recommend, and of course it being under £10 as well. So let's kick off, shall we, with the one entry from Origin. Obviously this is just one recommendation, they have quite a few good deals on there, but I wanted to point out that Prince of Persia is on sale. And you might go, which one? And to which I would answer, all of them. Now this is a bit of a cop-out obviously. If I was going to recommend any of them, I would of course recommend the original Sands of Time. However, I think Warrior Within gets a bad rep. It is a bit emo and edgelord, but, leave that to the side. I actually think it's one of the stronger games in the series combat-wise. But, the original trilogy is all £2.95, 66% off, so Sands of Time, Warrior Within, and Two Thrones. Forgotten Sands is also £2.95, as is the Prince of Persia reboot. I would avoid that one like it has some sort of horrible disease, because it probably does. But the rest, I would say, are definitely worth your time. Again, if I was to only recommend one, I'd say Sands of Time, but Warrior Within, definitely worth playing. Two Thrones is not awful, but it's just kind of bland. Anyway, let's move swiftly on, shall we, as we have quite a bit to get through, to the Crisis Trilogy. This is, of course, on Origin. So, as you would expect, this is all three games, and you actually get a pretty damn good deal, if you ask me. £6.24 for all of the Crisis games, which of course have a rather legendary reputation, if only for the but does it run Crisis sort of meme thing. But even outside of that, of course, it is a, very good looking, but also really fun to play sci-fi first-person shooter. And for those of you wondering, this does have pretty much all the things. It has Crisis, Crisis Warhead, Crisis 2, Crisis 3, and of course the Crisis 3 Warhead expansion. The only thing it doesn't have is the Lost Island DLC for Crisis 3, which is fairly expensive, $11.99, as I said. You do get the whole trilogy minus that for $6.24, which I think is a pretty damn good deal. These games are really, really fun. Not the most amazing story-wise or anything. It's not going to challenge the way you think about the world or anything like that. But you are going to have a ton of fun playing this game, especially if you like your first-person shooters. So, with that said, let's move on to our next Origin entry, which is Mass Effect. Now, this doesn't really need much of an introduction now, does it? This BioWare RPG series is rather legendary, and for good reason. Now, obviously, Mass Effect 1 is arguably the best RPG, because the RPG elements were sort of slowly stripped out of the game as the years went on, and obviously they are not really present at all anymore, unfortunately, but obviously it was improved and refined in other ways, so it's kind of a trade-off. For example, a lot of people would say Mass Effect 2 is the best out of the trilogy in terms of the completeness it brings. It has the improvements, but obviously it doesn't have the issues of Mass Effect 3 and that sort of stuff. So if you're interested in rather a massive time sink with one of the coolest worlds and some really interesting characters, a really interesting story, there's some dodginess, I'd definitely say Mass Effect is worth it, especially for the price, which is £3.39, 50% off. Now Mass Effect 2 is also reduced, so that's also $3.99, and there is a trilogy bundle, but it doesn't excuse me, meet remit of being under £10 as it is $14.99, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. So our final Origin entry is none other than Dragon Age Inquisition. Now, for those of you who are saying, oh, why are you recommending that one? What about the other ones? Well, the other ones are also on sale. Dragon Age Origins is also reduced, but obviously this is the more recent one, of course, so I figured, this is probably the best one to do in terms of what people are going to be most interested in, especially for the price. It is only £4.49. So this is obviously very different to not only the original Dragon Age, but of course Dragon Age 2, a lot of people didn't really like. Now, this game, again, is that sort of very, well, it is BioWare, but that, you know, it is very BioWare in the fact that, you know, there's a typical choice system, you know, there's multiple people you can do the sexy times with, and of course there's an epic adventure. Now, people have said that there is far too much grinding in this game, and I will say it is pretty damn grindy. It is kind of MMO-like in that regard. So, do you prepare yourself for that? But, you know, some people like grind. I myself find it very boring. But, obviously, that's just my personal opinion. It's probably people out there who love grinding going, what? How can you not enjoy grinding? It's so satisfying. And I'm just like... But seriously, for this price, I don't think you can turn this down, especially for the amount of time you're going to be getting out of it. So, as I said, the other Dragon Age are also reduced. I am trying to keep this video not too lengthy, so I'm going to very quickly mention the price. And like Mass Effect, it is $3.99 for Dragon Age Origins, if perhaps you want to stick with the original and arguably the best. However, let's move on from Origin to our one entry from GOG. This is none other than Flame in the Flood, which I did actually cover myself quite some time ago. Now, this is a quite interesting game. It is a survival game. Now, I will say that I'm not usually keen on survival games, just because it is that kind of endless treadmill that I don't really have that much interest in. I would be cool with a survival game that actually had like a story and an end game and that sort of stuff. You know, like a single player game perhaps that had survival elements, that sort of thing. But these games are literally just like, here's a world, survive. Like, that's not really my bag usually. But the Flame in the Flood interested me because it has a very interesting aesthetic, which I'm sure you will notice on the screen grabs and so on. Oh, by the way, a lot of people asked for some links last time on the Steam video. They're going to be there on this one in the description, so check them out. Anyway, so you got the interesting aesthetic, but the whole idea behind it, as the name kind of implies, is you're going down the river on your little raft, and you're basically finding sort of little islands where you can, you know, gather resources and that sort of thing, kind of gather some scraps of lore, that sort of thing. So it's sort of like post-societal America, and, you know, you're just surviving in some very harsh conditions because you got to worry about everything, you know, as you would in a survival game, not only just hunger, thirst, but also, you know, sleep, illness, and obviously temperature, and whether or not you're wet, and obviously given that a lot of it's flooded, that's definitely a concern. And obviously just exploring as much as you can. It is procedurally generated, as you might expect of a survival game. That is pretty much par for the course when it comes to these type of games. I will say the presentation and the lore and how this game actually does things was enough to keep me interested in this game for a fair amount of time. So if you're interested, it is 50% off, making it £7.49. However, let's move on to our Green Man Gaming offerings. And the first one is Serious Sam 3 BFE. Now, not yesterday, sorry. In the Steam sale video, we had, of course, the mighty Doom, which had a lot of praise, and rightfully so, for being a really, really good first-person shooter, and of course, really old school. And I feel Serious Sam deserves some praise for similar things as well. It has that very fast-paced, tongue-in-cheek, not taking itself seriously at all feel, where you run around, you shoot enemies in the face, and it's just really, really enjoyable to do so. And if you liked the Serious Sam games, and you like what Crow Team have to offer, you are definitely going to love Serious Sam 3 BFE. And it also has a local co-op, which is a rare beast in these days, so I would say if you're interested in some blasty times, then you could do a lot worse than Serious Sam, especially at the heavily reduced price of 80% off, making, of course, £6. You can actually grab an extra 17% off with a voucher code on GMG, but I'm not actually 100% sure if it's off the base price or the reduced price. Try it and find out, doesn't hurt any. It will be there on the main page if you are at all interested in buying anything on GMG. Anyway, our next entry from GMG is Fallout 4. Again, this is not a game or series, for that matter, that needs much introduction. Now, obviously, Fallout 4 has kind of split the Fallout community as, while it is arguably a really, really good game, it's not really that great of a Fallout game, as similar to Mass Effect, it has lost a lot of the RPG elements that actually made it fun for a lot of people. The conversation system was very stripped down in order to make room for actual voice acting, you know, which is great, but I think most people were fine with it not having, you know, voice acting for the main character, that is. You know, it's not like it never had voice acting before for the main character. It's not like it ever had that before. And sorry, it didn't have voice acting before, but obviously, you know, for the main character, it basically really limits you in what you can say, because they don't want to spend £1 million squillion pounds on the voice acting. So that was a bit of a shame for a lot of people. And, you know, it's a Bethesda game, so obviously you can expect your usual array of concerns with the PC version. But all that aside, it is still a ton of fun, and it was on numerous Game of the Year lists for multiple reasons, you know. Whether or not you like it as a hardcore Fallout fan, you know, I'm not really hugely into Fallout. I enjoy Fallout, but I'm not like, oh my god, what the fuck barbecue about it. So I can't really comment. I would still say this is a really good game and 100% worth your time, especially at the reduced price of £10, which is 50% off. So, before we move on from Green Man, I have one more offering, and that is Rocket League. So this game has done absolute gangbusters. It has sold extremely well, despite the fact that it is a very simplistic game, but in all honesty, that is exactly why it sold so well, because it is just a really fun, simple game that you can pick up, learn to play fairly quickly, and have fun with. Obviously, there's, you know, hidden complexity and hidden depth, you know, a lot of tricks and subtle maneuvers that you can do to really put yourself up there on the Rocket League leaderboards, as it were. But, you know, you can just pick up the controller or, you know, keyboard and mouse, whatever your preference is, and have an absolute blast. And it's kind of similar feeling to Overwatch for me, in that, you know, you could just play it for 10 minutes, have one round, and feel satisfied. That is one of the main reasons I poured so much time into Overwatch, and it's probably similar for a lot of people with Rocket League as well. It's just a fun game. You know what, I've got 10 minutes to kill, let's fire it up quickly, have some fun, and feel satisfied with my experience. You know, it is a multiplayer experience that I actually enjoy, which is very, very rare. You know, before Overwatch, I didn't really play multiplayer games at all, ever, so Rocket League is definitely in that collection of games, a very small collection of games I enjoy on multiplayer. So that should be quite the recommendation, to be honest, and it is 40% off, making it £8.99. So that's it from GMG. I've got a final two to round out our 10 under 10, and the last two are from the Humble Store. Our first one is going to be Viscera Cleanup Detail. This game is a bit of a strange one, to be honest. It's one of those games where the concept is like, really, that is fun, and yeah, it weirdly is, to be honest, because it's just sort of relaxing and cathartic and just very zen. You're basically tasked with cleaning up after a horrible massacre, like one you might find in Doom or Serious Sam or multiple other games. You're, you know, going around whatever setting you happen to be in that day and cleaning up body parts and all that sort of thing. It's had this very, you know, relaxing sort of like, oh, I'm just, you know, everything new, everything clean. You know, it's very oddly satisfying to play. But that is pretty much the game. You go around different places, you try to get maximum cleanliness, you know, get everything spick and span, every nook and cranny. Oh, you missed a stray body part. Better get rid of that, because, you know, the visceral cleanup detail here is to make that horrible massacre disappear like magic. Poof. In all seriousness, this is a very odd game, but one I actually weirdly enjoy, to be honest with you. Go check out some trailers, gameplay and so on, because I think this is one that you definitely need to see for yourself, to see if you think you'll enjoy it. It is currently 40% off on Humble, making it $5.99. Not exactly expensive, to say the least. Our next game, and of course our final game, is Moon Hunters. Now, this is an indie RPG that has an absolutely stunning aesthetic. I mean, honestly, just look at it. It is gorgeous. Not only in just a sort of overworld view, but the character design, how they look, how the world feels. It kind of gives me an Okami vibe a little bit. It's obviously not the Sumi-E style. I don't mean it looks like Okami, because it doesn't, but it gives me a similar vibe. Especially the sort of quote-unquote cutscene art, for want of a better word. And what's also a really cool thing about Moon Hunters is that it does actually have, co-op available. You can play it by yourself, or you can play it via split screen, and you can have up to 4 players, which is really, really cool. So you can be you and your friends forming an RPG party and going on a wonderful adventure together. You know, getting local co-op games ever on PC is a rare enough beast on its own. And obviously an RPG that has co-op, I mean, I can't really think of any that have it off the top of my head. At least not recently. You know, please do put some in the comments if you know of some. You know, that would be great. But honestly, I feel like this game is a really cool experience, especially if you like your RPGs. So, there you have it. 10 under 10 from outside of Steam. Again, you can find the links to all of these games in the description below this video. Thanks again for watching. Your support is highly appreciated. Do remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It does help out a great deal, and I'll see you next time.